Alright guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we are going to make an app using Vue. Last time we installed the Vue and we installed the Vue using the Vue CLI. So today we're going to make an app using Vue, and the app is a Vue News API app which generates articles from different websites using Vue, using a URL, or in other words using a API URL which is able to pull different news articles from different websites. So today that's what we're going to do. Last time we installed the Vue using Vue CLI. So let's just get started. So I'm having app.vue, and that's where we're going to start from. And as well I said, now you need to have an API key from the news API.org. You need to get an API key so that we can do this tutorial together. So now the next thing here I already have is I'm having app.vue under the components, under the source, and then under the components we have hello world.vue and as well the other files respectively. So this is what I'm having over here, which is currently right now it's just an empty page. So now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start from scratch. So you can just you can have a similar template as well. That is once you install the Vue. So now let's start from here. So under the components, I'm going to make a file. So the file is going to be news.vue. So I'd like you to make the same. Now under news.vue is where we're going to start building the logic for our app. So you're going to have the normal Vue structure, and there is what we are going to build the template for. We are going to build the logic for our app. So the first thing here we need to have is the template. So you're going to define the template, and as well you're going to define the script that is under the. So you're going to define the script here, and as well we are going to have our styling for our app, which is that. So that's what we are doing within, that's where we are starting from. So now the first thing we'll need to do is under the template we are going to define a class container which is going to hold all the particular elements for our code. So now the first thing here we'll need to do is we're going to have div class. So the div class is going to have the container for our app. So this is the main container for our app, which is now going to hold all the other logic. Now the next thing we'll need to do, we are now going to start from the first. Now from the first demonstration, as I showed you, we had the search bar. Now so the search bar had the particular search for latest news. I think you saw it. So that's where we're going to start from. So we're going to have a class which is we're going to have a class search bar. So we have in this class search bar, and then under the search bar we are going to make a form. Now this form is going to have it's going to submit, is going to have submit, but this submit is going to prevent any default submission of any particular articles that we're going to generate. So now this is going to have fetch search news. Okay. So now submit.prevent means we are defaultly preventing submission of just any particular word that we type within our website. So the next thing we are going to have is input type. So the input type here, that is under the form, I'm going to give it text, and then the placeholder will be search for latest news. Okay, So that's what we are having within the input. And then before that, we're also going to have a view model. So the view model is defining for us the search one. So the view model will define for us the search word. Okay, so now this what is happening under the form. So we are having the form having, we are now making the form, giving it a text, a placeholder. This should be search this. So we are going to give it a view model of search word. So that's what is happening from there. So now let's close the form. Now the next thing, after now giving it such particular logic, the next thing we need to do here, we need to make another class. Now this class is going to define the search icons. So these search icons are coming from the font awesome. So we are going to have vif, which is going to check if the particular searched keyword is busy, and then we are giving it a class of font awesome fa, which is of search, and then here we are giving it at click, which means it should render anything that you put within the particular so now what we are doing here, this is class, so this should have equal, so now what we are doing here, we are checking if it's busy. So the particular typed keyword that we have typed, let's say the particular website that we are pulling the article from is busy. So what we are going to have, we are going to have a font awesome icon that is going to be, once it is busy, that is under searching, it's going to, once you click fetch search news, it should bring a certain condition. So now the next thing, let's check this condition, what it is. Now if it's busy, then we should have another if velse. The velse is going to have a class, and this class equals to far spinner, and far spinner is going to spin if there is no particular article that is coming. So that spin means that it is busy looking for the particular element. Now we are going to see this once it comes to life. This is, so I think the mistake should be here. So that's what it's going to do, and then we are now closing. So now that's what the velse is going to do. Now let's check. Now after that, we're going to give it another class which equals to far. Remember, these are from the awesome icons, and then this we are going to give it at click, then click. This one should now do what? Should now fetch the top news. So this is what it's doing. So it's going to fetch the top news once if it's going to find the generated news article. So now this is at click, and then at click equals to this. Should have a close in there, and then as well we should have that. So that's what it's going to do. So what it's going to do is that it's going to spin if it's busy searching for any particular article, and then we are going to make it give for us or generate or render for us the top news. So let's just close these two divs, And then now the next thing we are going to have is a result list. Now result list is going to define for us for example, we are going to have the image, the title of the image, and as well the footer. So now the first thing we are going to have is a result list here. Okay, so under the result list we have in an article. Now this article is the articles that we are generating. Let's give it a 4, which equals to, we're going to give it an article. We're going to generate article, an index of the article that we remember we are checking it under the if. So the articles, and then here we are giving it the key which equals to the index. So let me just explain this in a second. So here we are now looping over our articles from where we are generating them from, and then under this result list we are looking for the index for our article, and as well we are checking the index under the articles and then generating whatever we find. So this should be article. So that's what is happening. So under the article we are going to give it at click, and then at click this equals to nav2. We are now linking it to a particular nav, to a particular URL. So now what we are doing here, we are after looping over our articles, we are giving them at click function nav2, so that it can direct, or it can generate, or it can submit to a particular URL in our website. So that's what we are doing under the if for. So now the next thing we are doing here, we are going to have an header. So now within our article there's going to be an header. Now within the header we are going to have an image, right? We're going to have an image. Sorry, now under this one we should have under the header we have in the image, we're going to have an image. Now the image is going to have v11 equals to article, and then this should be .url image. So that's what we have in there, and then this should have a source that we are linked. The source should be article.url article.url to image. So now this is what we are doing. So this should be to image, and then as well we give it an alt which equals to that. So what we are doing is that we are getting the image from the website, and then now we are rendering it to our website. As well, if we don't find it, we're going to give it a v-else. Now the v-else is going to have a class, and this class is going to be the found_awesome class. So the found_awesome class should do something if we do not get, sorry, this should have a closing, okay, v-else, and then we're going to give it. So in other words, if we don't get an image, we're going to have a found_awesome class. This should be closed. We should have an header, close this, So now that's what is happening within so what we are doing here, we are going to check the article that we are generating. After getting the URL of the image from the article that we are generating, so either if it's not there, then we are going to give it a found awesome icon of an image for it to be there in case we do not get the image. So that's what we are having or in this particular code. So now the next thing is let's go now to so now the next thing we are going to do here is that we are now going to get the title of the image. Now the title of the image, we are going to have another section, vue.html. The vue.html defines for us the HTML content within our view. So we are having an article dot title. So we are giving it dot title. Let's close. Okay. So under the section, we are now getting the title of the article, and then lastly we are going to have the footer for our article. So here we are going to have also a found awesome class. Let me just have it there. So we are going to give it a class of chevron icon. Now if you've checked closely, in the first demonstration you saw an font awesome icon, that is an arrow that is pointing to, like, it's pointing to certain, that is, it's pointing to the other side of, once you click the image, is going to take you to the particular main article or the main website. So that's what we are going to have in our footer. So let's just close this. So now this is what is happening. So let's close our article that we are dealing with, and then as well let us have a div. Close. So now let's check there's an error here within the header. So I think we should have a closing. I forgot to close this. Okay, so now this should be it. So now this is what we have done under the result list. So it's just generating for us the title of the article, the image, and then the footer. So now the next thing we are going to have is we are going to give it a scroll so that we can scroll within the articles. And this scroll we are going to give in this in our particular website is going to be an infinite scroll, so that once you scroll, it just doesn't go to any other page but this particular page within our website. So let's give it a div class. So div class, we are going to give it an infinite scroll trigger from our JS. So we are going to give it an infinite scroll trigger. Let's also give it an ID. The ID is going to be scroll, and then we'll close that one. So now what this does, the infinite scroll trigger is going to prevent, or is going to avoid, the need to click the next page. So what we are having is that you're just going to be scrolling within the particular articles, and then you do not need to click the next page. So that's what this class is doing. So the next thing here, we are going to give it another icon, which we are going to check within our view. So we're going to check if view is equals to show loader. So this is a function that is going to that is going to check if there's an article, then it's going to spin. We're going to give it a class of spin, that is spinner, from the font awesome. So spinner class, and then here we are, let's close this. So that's what is going to happen within that particular, let's close that. Okay, so that's what is happening. So under the scroll, we are going to give it an infinite scroll so that we can scroll our website without the need to click to the next page. So now the next thing, or the next place we're going to go is the, so now we are through with our template. So now let's go to the next activity. Should be under the script tag. So now let's define our scripting code within our within our app. So now the first thing we are going to do is to give it a props, that is under the properties. So the props we are going to do here, we are going to pass a particular data under here. So let's give it at the, so we are going to give this, so the props should have, sorry, it should be okay. So we'll just, so we are going to pass the API key in this particular property. So we are going to pass the API key, which you are going to get from our news API. So we are going to render the data here. So the data is going to be, we are going to give a data that we're going to pass. For example, we're going to pass the URL. We're going to have our articles as well. So that's what we are doing within the data. So the first thing here, we need to have the arrow sign as well. And then we're going to return now the data that we're going to pass within this particular. So the first thing we're going to have is the API URL. So we're going to have the API URL. So under the API URL, we are setting it to empty. So here it's only empty. The next thing we are checking if it's busy. If it's busy. Now if it's busy, what we are doing here, we are going to give it false. As well, you are going to have the show loader. Sorry, it should be show loader. So under the show loader, we are going to give it false, like that. Sorry, this should. And then the current page that we are in, we are also going to give it 1. So let me just explain this as we continue. So total max, total results, we're going to give, it's going to be 0. And then the max per page is going to be 20. In other words, we're going to have a maximum of 20 news articles that we come up with. So that's what's happening there. Now the next one should have is the search word. The search word is what the user types, so that's what we're going with. So here we're just giving it an empty string, and then here we are having the articles, which we are giving it that, and then lastly the country from where we are generating the article we end up from. So we close from there. So now this is what we are having within the data that we are going to return. So under the view we are returning this particular data. So we are returning the URL. We are going to check if it's busy, the show loader, the current page, the total results, and the maximum per page that we are having. So that's what we are returning here.